because there was a connection that needed to be refreshed. So, hi, welcome. Now we're live.
Woohoo!
We should be pulling up soon. Um, Good morning. How's everybody? Welcome to the Coffee Table Talks with Michael Loggins,
Hey,
one of my favorite leaders in InfoSec. Mike, say hi.
hey, how you guys doing?
Good. And with me today, as usual, is Will McCollum, the program manager for the IT Center for Excellence at Pima Community College.
Ooh,
In
you got
association,
that down pat.
I did. It's it's like riding a bike. Will, you never forget. Okay. Good morning. I see we have some folks in the chat, so that's great. If you are viewing this from Twitter, Facebook, or Twitch, one of those. No, Twitch comes in. If you're on Twitch, LinkedIn, or YouTube, we should see your comments in the sidebar scrolling through, just so you know. If you're trying to holler at me on Twitter or Facebook, it's not going to come through. Sorry, jump to one of the other ones. That's fine. Anywho, Levy is not going to be able to join us. May pop in randomly at some point, but possibly not going to happen. Just saying. So if randomly there is a Levy, that's why. Levy's usually on our rotation, but just like the rest of us, we all have day jobs. So I think they had some last minute meetings that sprung up. Good morning. Let's see, what do we got? We got Daniel, Kate. Hey, good. Hi, Jess. Jess from YouTube. Welcome. Welcome in. So, how are you doing? How's everybody? It's good? It's been a minute. I got a new puppy. Did you guys see it walk by? There it was, right
That's
there.
adorable.
I also
Really adorable.
I also had a birthday this week. So thank you to everyone on LinkedIn that wished me happy birthday, you guys. I'm 102, in case anybody wants to call.
That's way younger than I was gonna pick, so that's awesome.
I know. Thanks. No, I decided that I'm going to stop aging at 102. That's it.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That's the done age. Yeah, definitely done. I think you can. I heard somebody once say that you should select the age that you were the happiest at and just stick with that. That's the age you perpetually are from now until eternity. So
I don't remember being happy at 14 or 13. Yeah, I seem to live there. So
well,
that gives me an excuse to acting like a 5-year-old. That's
absolutely
awesome.
Perfect. I love it. Y'all, this has been a crazy week. So birthday, and then my youngest just turned 5, and my husband is planning a surprise. It's not a surprise. I know about it, but a birthday party for me tomorrow. It's going to be Harry Potter themed because I'm that chick. It's going to be fun. So if you guys are in the Baton Rouge area, drop on by. We're going to have drinks.
Awesome.
It's going to be great.
So which house are you?
This may not be surprising to anyone. It may be surprising. I am a diehard Hufflepuff, 110%.
Yeah.
That's
what I would have picked. So
see, it's who I am. So Mike and I got a chance to catch up a couple of weeks ago. The circumstances around that weren't necessarily joyous, but our breakfast was delicious, and you got to meet my dad.
Yeah, he's cool. That was like the best bonus. Not that I'm gonna hang out with you, but your dad was awesome.
He's pretty cool. He's pretty cool. I like him. I mean, right? If I had to pick, I would have picked that one. So it worked out well. Where was it that we had breakfast? It was one of your favorite places.
Yeah, Sunrise Cafe, like a not greasy spoon place. So it was fantastic.
Yeah. It was lovely. It was perfect. It was like that diner feel, but nothing was sticky.
Yeah, thank goodness. It's like, they use soap when they wash the tables there, so it's nice.
Yeah, it was good. So if you guys are in the northern Indianapolis area, Fishers region of Indianapolis, that's where you should go.
Absolutely.
We definitely recommend it. It's pretty awesome. And Will, you went to DEF CON, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Oh, sweet.
How was it?
Got some fun stickers from Goons that I can't put on my laptop. Are not very friendly in the academic environment, but yeah, had a great time. And there are a lot of people, man, a lot of people. And we had quite a few students there as well. And they had a great time.
Very cool.
Helped some of the folks in the packet capturing villages. They were getting stuff going. It's like, nope, that's wrong capture. You need to, right? But yeah, it was great. Had a blast.
So I see a few new people in our chat than what's normal. So if this is your first time stopping by the coffee table, previously, just a little background here. Will and I started the coffee table. Well, I started the coffee table talks here we are in COVID. I came across some pretty cool stories from some awesome folks. And I was like, wow, we should just do this so other people can hear these very cool histories. I think the first one was actually Rich Owen, who I came across just making connections within the community. And he was about to retire. And I asked him, how's your career been? And he was like, well, it started back in Vietnam. And I was like, that's interesting. So we went into those conversations. You can see those. I am not a professional podcaster or live streamer at all. I just like talking to people and I enjoy it. So that's kind of how this got started, how it perpetuated. I came across Will, I think 2 or 3 episodes in, and then I was like, that's it. I'm keeping you. You are forever now the co-host. Congratulations. And then also encountered our other co-host, Levy, who is not here right now, but that's okay, through our efforts at the Innocent Lives Foundation. And always want to say special, I started this podcast as part of my previous life with my family over at Secure Nation, who is kind enough to continue allowing us to use their LinkedIn Live access. So if you need a trusted reseller, go check them out. They're good people, and that's it. That's my little hi, how are you? That's how we got here kind of thing. We're glad you're here. And Mike, I believe we started our relationship when I was also with Secure Nation.
Yeah.
So, and just kept it going because you're good people. I like good humans. I keep them.
And I've got a mosquito around here someplace. So if I go all, I'm gonna get him.
So Will is is over there with the IT Center for Excellence, right? And did we do a little history on Mike yet? We didn't. We need Mike. Mike, you should introduce yourself, give a little background on some of your jobs and career passions and all that, and then kind of where you are right now, if you don't mind.
So been a lifelong Hoosier, so go Colts. 24 years in the IT industry. Came out of the infrastructure support operations and eventually cyber world. Last 10 years, I've been leading IT at a manufacturing company called SMC. That's a Japanese headquartered company, but we have our North American headquarters here in town, and had the opportunity not only to lead North America, but eventually got to the point where I was able to had the opportunity to lead all the global initiatives around IT and security for the entire organization. So about 74 plus companies part of that group, 25,000 employees. And way varying levels of sophistication and modernization, across the globe. So great challenge, great people around there, fantastic company. If you don't know, SMC is a manufacturer of industrial automation components. So the cool thing I've always loved about SMC is if you use it today, it probably touched something that we made, or we moved it along, or we packaged it, or it has our components in it. So it's a fantastic company. It's great. It was a great experience, being able to work with so many people from around the globe. You don't get that opportunity very often. Towards the end, we were doing some crazy projects and some very aggressive projects, building out 11 private cloud environments, while we were also pushing some small public cloud workloads out, implementing global security, standardization, and implementing a GRC program that had to deal with over 112 jurisdictions, and trying to figure out how to do that without completely losing our minds. So trying to build standardization in our governance and policies, without going too crazy. I mean, it's already that's a hard enough job with one jurisdiction, let alone every jurisdiction. 6 of the 7 continents we covered. So July, I decided it was time for me to decide what I wanted to do next. So in July, I decided to leave SMC, and now I'm out figuring out my next thing. So,
Oh man, that means you're free for hire. That's right, right? Yep.
absolutely, I am available for hire. So
somebody better grab you, because that's it happens every once in a while, right? Where you run into excellent leaders. You're one of them, and I've never even worked under you before, but like, just knowing that you left in July, some of the other folks that work at SMC, as soon as I mentioned, hey, I heard Mike left, they were like, it's horrible, it's awful, he should have never left, and they were like really upset, like you can always tell when you read between the lines whenever there's a leader that leaves a company, and like people, kind of chit chat back and forth. They're like, it was a good move. It was a good, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Which means we're really glad.
Yeah.
That's what that means. It was a good move for everyone involved.
Yeah.
No, these folks were like, it was awful. It's horrible. I don't want to be here anymore. Like,
I had the best team. We were able to build that team from 4 of us in 2019 or 2020 to over 75 in a year. And those were people that we did very little structured recruiting. A lot of it was tapping my network, tapping everyone else's network. Sometimes, we got referrals from you for people. And really the conversations were, I can read a resume and figure out if you actually know what you're doing or not. I can ask a couple questions and figure out if you're full of it. So most of the time we were talking, it was human talk. Can you be a human? Can you be a person who wants to be on my team? Do I want you on my team? Do you add the correct balance? I had some people I brought on the team specifically to shake the teams up and to be disruptors in the team. And I brought some people in because I knew they could lift other people up and they had the right attitudes to do stuff like that. So I loved everyone who works for me and has worked for me down there. They were amazing. So was able to build that in North America over years, and then got a chance to do it in a very condensed timeline, and that was a blast too. So I will say that's one thing I miss. I tell my wife, I said, I kind of miss my friends. That was the big thing is, we didn't live off the hierarchy. So, they knew when I needed to do something, and I knew when I needed to do something that, I had to put my VP hat on. But for the most part, we were just there to get stuff done. We were there to change the company, and you did what you needed to do. I did what I needed to do. And, I fully embrace I work for my employees, not the other way around. And it was fun. So
yeah.
That's awesome leadership. And okay, this beautiful, T-ball hit. I can't let this go by. So coming from education, right? In your perspective, what would you tell students as to what they need to develop in themselves, what they need to look for beyond the normal hype, right? There's so much hype in certs, in all this stuff. What do you look for in an employee, and what makes you a really valuable employee?
I want a human. No ego. Everyone needs to leave their ego at the door. You don't get anything done if you have, everyone's constantly emotional about who's more valuable or less valuable, or why didn't they pick my idea. Um, so, looking for someone who can, put all that aside and be part of a team. And, it's one of those things. You can learn tech skills. Tech skills, heck, I can still learn tech skills as in my advanced age. I can still figure this stuff out. And especially nowadays with access to so many things, the people that are coming out of school, they know it, or they know how to get it. You can teach that. I can't teach drive. I can't teach, that's something you've got to bring to the table, and something that you can individually work on. Is what do you want to do the one thing you're doing your entire life, or do you want to keep pushing and changing and always, I think when I first got on, I was help desk and IT support, and I just never said no to a new opportunity to learn something and get in the middle of it. And some of those were horrible decisions on my part, and some of them were fantastic decisions, but I learned so much. But not only did I learn the tech skills, throughout that, but it's I wasn't happy with status quo. And I think that as we go down the path of what technology and IT and these skills, especially InfoSec, over the next several years, status quo can never set in. Period. The minute that sets in is the minute you're compromised. So that feeling of perpetual growth and perpetual movement is huge. And then other than that, I want to know what their what kind of dogs they've got, what kind of cats they got, what do they do for fun, and once again, just find humans. Probably have a much more emotionally tied um, interview than other people, just because I want to know who they are, and I want them to know who I am, because I need them to trust in me, to give me their time and their faith that I'm going to lead them the right way in their career. And I want to make sure I have the right person who's going to have fun with us. So,
Oh, awesome.
I think knowing those details about the people that you work with actually really helps you formulate a strong sense of empathy whenever you're working with those folks too. Just because, you know what I mean? Like everybody knows I got 3 kids. I got 3 kids. I got 3 dogs, right? I got a husband. I got stuff. There's things happening. So just knowing that about somebody will make it, you're more considerate of how and when you message somebody, right? It sets up expectations around, well, they may not answer in 3 minutes, but they'll answer in 10, just stuff like that can really help guide your feelings about working with the group that you work with, kind of thing, right? Because if you didn't understand those things and you weren't able to formulate that level of empathy with your team members, you could get really frustrated very quickly, and they could become very frustrated with you as well. So and it's not just around, what their home life is like. It's also around neurodivergence, right? Or where they are in their life, where their skill set lies, those kind of things. And I always think it's great to see leaders that are invested in their people and knowing that information about them, because it demonstrates, an actual passion for working with that group.
Oh, you mean compassion and trust is an important part?
I mean, right, especially in InfoSec, you're the most talented folks in InfoSec are the that in my opinion, are the ones that distrust everything. They distrust everything, every link, every communication, every outreach from, the wide world of social media, they're like, that could be not the person I think it is, right? And that kind of awareness that they raise with their tinfoil hats on, right, around other people could save somebody a lot of trouble and heartache and pain and, from becoming a victim. So knowing that they carry that level of just innate distrust of the world around them, you need some place to take a break from that.
Yeah.
And if it's got to be your team, you have to be able to trust your team and have those conversations. And breaking down those walls sometimes can be really hard because a lot of people in information security specifically are anxiety filled, right? Like, I don't know one SOC analyst that doesn't pour over whether or not they designated an alert as a false positive correctly. You know what I mean? They'll sit up and think about it, and they'll kind of wait and watch their systems and be like, but what if? But what if I was wrong, right? What if I shouldn't have dismissed it? What if, and it can get really overwhelming. So,
and like you said, they need that break or they become cynical. And it's one thing to be, that semi-paranoid, because that's what makes them great at what they do, is that they don't believe anything on face value when it comes to that. But giving them that space to put that away and have those connections with their team or with whatever they need to have those connections with are critical. Because and sometimes you have to be forceful as a leader to put them in a position where they have to separate from what they do. Or like I said, you end up with a cynical miser on your team who, the rest of your team doesn't want to deal with. They may be fantastic. They may be the hero of InfoSec, but, no one likes them because they can't connect to them and they don't feel like they want to be connected to them. So, that's huge. I think in IT, especially with the awareness, I think IT, we've been aware of the value and the presence of neurodivergence in our environment for years. But with the recent kind of awakening in the industry, I think of how pervasive it is and present it is in our environment specifically, it's the same thing. People who are neurodivergent sometimes need to connect differently than neurotypical people, and finding those ways to give them that space to do it, it is hard sometimes, and but it's so rewarding to see somebody blossom in a way that they couldn't blossom before. And I've as a leader, I've screwed those up. I've had somebody who's neurodivergent and I just thought they were cranky or whiny or weird, and you forget that, and then when it smacks you in the face, then you realize what you need to do. And those are great relationships. I feel in a lot of ways that neurodivergent people, I think people with disabilities tend to be some of the best innovators out there because they spend their whole lives finding different ways to work around problems because they don't fit into the normal course of what was designed for them. So their thought processes are so unique. I think that's going to end up becoming less of a barrier, I think, over the next couple of years, and more of an asset to a certain degree in some of these fields, because when people figure out that the accommodations and the things that you need to be able to provide to create that safe space for people with disabilities and neurodivergence is not hard. It's not something that is really a detractor from anything else you're doing. Most of the times when you look at those, the accommodations, they're accommodations you'd want as a neurotypical, and you build those in, and all of a sudden everyone succeeds. And so it's an amazing thing. And for those, since I'm new to this group, I have 3 kids. I have 2 dogs. But for me, my 3 kids are all special needs. I have my oldest and my youngest are on the autism spectrum, and my middle son has spina bifida and all the fun that comes with it. So, I advocate to make sure that they have the opportunities they need, but in the process, you realize how the rest of the world still needs to wake up and start really pushing to help them out. So it's to me it's another big stride in the equity and inclusion conversation that's
Oh,
out there.
heck yeah. Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, I mean, here in the college, right? When you have neurodiverse people coming in, and we have a lot of them. I mean, come on, it's IT, right? So we have those folks coming in. The biggest thing that you have to fight is anxiety, right? Because they're coming in with anytime you have folks that come in from any kind of background that is different from the largest number of folks in the room, they're facing anxiety. And we need to help get past that. We need to help provide, it is our job to help provide a welcoming atmosphere to where that can be appreciated, because you hit it spot on. Those folks have superpowers in this industry. Those folks have powers of observation that just obliterate others, right? And especially when it's in a field that is looking for detail, that is heavily dependent upon detail. These folks can soar. These folks can excel like you would not believe, learn incredibly fast. And we have to be aware of that and be able to open up those doors and open up that understanding and help neurodiverse, work with neurodiverse, help everyone else work in that area, right? So it comes with challenges, but you nailed it. It's about building that trust. It's about building that safe space.
Yeah. I always think it's a great plan to, approach your employees, not only your neurodiverse, but also your neurotypical employees, and ask them directly, how do you thrive? What sort of environment do you thrive in? How do you take direction? How do you respond the best to communication? Do you prefer face-to-face communication? Because there are preferences, and those are things that, yeah, of course, you should be looking at whenever you are considering working with someone who has identified themselves as neurodivergent, right? But it's also something that neurotypical people would really appreciate too, right? Because even if you're not officially diagnosed as something, or you have, struggles with any, you still are your own human, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you may not necessarily respond the best way that works for the person sitting next to you. So it's important to have those conversations and communication, and then, just make yourself a little Excel spreadsheet of your team and write down preferred communication method. Is it this channel, email, face-to-face? Do they like phone calls, right? And then go to the next one. How do they best receive directions for, I don't know, anything, a new project? How do they track that progress in their preferred way? Like, that way, if there is some sort of centralized way that your team is documenting, project progress, that that this person may need gentle reminders more often to put that stuff in, because they just forget. They just go and they do, and they drive forward, and then they just forget to put it down. So, you can set up a reoccurring message every day to go to that person that's like, hey, don't forget to document what you did, right? You want to get credit, like, and just stuff like that. There's so many ways that we can express a lot of empathy and positivity and in leadership styles that also will just automatically create really healthy cultures that isn't smoke and mirrors. It's not a lie. We really are excited to be here and really are happy to show up for work every day, because we know that we can have conversations with our leadership in a trusted space where we're not going to be judged for whatever's happening there, right? So many people don't ask for help because to them, they are always in a anxiety-filled mode of I'm drowning.
Mm-hmm.
So if they start asking for help, they're like, I'm going to ask too much, right? For too much help. And they just aren't able to identify where they really do need assistance. So they go the opposite direction and never ask for help, never hold their hand out. And then they're just over here silently dying.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Right?
yeah.
And nobody notices, right? And then how does that affect how they function in the company? And how does that, I mean, it goes back to all that. You got to take care of your people.
Also, one thing, you've probably experienced this, right? From a educator perspective, for all those that are neurotypical or whatever, a little clue that working with folks, that there are some folks in the neurodivergent area that have a hard time with social skills, with social cues. You have something that you can at times almost completely change their lives by just walking up and to them and telling them flat out, you're doing an incredible job. Understand that you are rocking it, you're awesome, and I really value what you're doing. Because if you're somebody who has a hard time reading those clues or those cues, having someone just flat out tell you can be really, really helpful.
I actually struggle with that one. I need gold stars. And I tell people around me, I'm like, I need gold stars. Like, I don't need anything else. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to would a gift card be nice? Yeah, it'd be nice. But like, if you just message me and you're like, hey, you did a great job. Like, that's it. I am on cloud 9 and so motivated to keep on overachieving. Like, I'm just happy. But if no news is good news, I don't do well. I don't do well in that environment. If you just leave me alone and the only time you come approach me is to like pound me over the head, I'm not gonna be happy anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna feel. And I am neurodivergent, but I can't see neurotypical people not feeling the same way.
No.
I'm like,
They say about, as a parent of somebody on the autism spectrum, they say when you meet one person with autism, you've met one person with autism because they're so unique. That's not an autistic, specific, thing. If you look at it, I think somebody in the chat mentioned too, when you meet one person, you've met one person. You cannot blanket treat everybody identically the whole way. So you have to learn what makes as a leader, you have to learn when you're serving them, what do they need to be their best? And some people need you to leave them alone. Some people need you to give them gold stars. Some need, a presence just to know that, that they're doing the right things. Some need that email every once in a while, a Slack message. So it's really just one of those things of that a good leader, that's their responsibility, is figuring out what is the special sauce that everyone has, and how do you get it out? How do you make that shine for them? Because as a leader, it's not the things you get done, it's the stuff that your people are able to get done that makes you a good leader. So, if you're a leader and you're doing great things, but you're doing it because they feel only obligated, or you've got a nice whip that you can use, that's that's short lived, and and people will remember that, and eventually that'll catch up with you. If you are somebody who really makes your people, great, by being able to let them be the individuals that they are, then they'll remember that too. But I think you go much farther. You can scale differently. You can change differently in your industry and potentially in other industries because of that.
So as a leader, and things that you've come across pulling from your past, what have you done when people on your team are having difficulties?
A lot of it's finding out where the gap is between where they are and where safety is, because usually that's all it is. Sometimes it shows up as confidence, sometimes it shows off as avoidance. A lot of times it's just a gap to safety. And so it's going to them, finding out where they are at their level, finding out how they want to receive feedback or give feedback, and make sure that you're doing what you can to address that as much as possible. No one goes into a job and thinks that they can suck at their job and keep a job. I don't think anyone, there is none of that. So everyone, no matter what their ability is, wants to do a good job. So it's a matter of finding out what is that gap and figuring it out. And if you can help them, and it's helping them find that gap and help them figure out what they need, and then try to figure out where you fit into that equation. Because if you're a leader, and a lot of times the leader has authority as well, you have the ability to make those changes. You have the ability to clear that space for that person and make those, whatever that is. So, I think the empathy and love are huge when you're doing those types of things too. So it's not just about trying to get more productivity out of somebody. It's about allowing somebody to be their whole self at the office.
Oh, dude, you're gold. What? Yeah, that's awesome. That's fantastic.
I think Will teared up a little bit.
Well, we work so hard to try to get that point across, right? There's so many leaders out there that, like Simon Sinek has a thing with SEAL Team 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those that are high performers but low trust. So many of those find themselves at the top of the ladder, unfortunately, in many leadership positions, but they're not the people you want in charge because they don't have that viewpoint. They don't have that understanding that creativity is killed when you obliterate safety, when you obliterate sense of being okay.
Yeah.
That's very true. Evan, I put Evan's comment up here because I saw an article somewhere earlier this week where FR Secure was named for like the 4th year in a row one of the best places to work in their area. Like, congratulations, you guys. That's awesome.
That's
you
awesome.
Want to know why? You want to know why they were named for the 4th year in a row? Right there. Right there. That's why. Is because that is the culture that is set up by their CEO, Evan. Is because if Evan says, I want to know each one of my direct reports' love languages, that means that those reports are going to take that warm, fuzzy feelings that are coming from the top and they're going to spread it out, and it's going to grow and it's going to keep going. You have no idea how many times I've heard Evan comment about, he'll be in some internal meeting and he'll hear the person holding the meeting repeat verbatim something that Evan has said to them. And he doesn't feel like, well, they didn't give me credit, right? He feels like, oh, that's awesome. Like it's spreading. The goodness is spreading, right? And they're indoctrinating it so much that here they are repeating it verbatim in this meeting, right? That's an awesome way to live.
Absolutely.
Awesome
Congratulations, Evan. That's great. And I'm sure he feels this too. Positivity and optimism is infectious. Negativity is infectious too, and unfortunately it's faster.
Yeah, it is.
But the positivity, empathy, love, those things are infectious in a group. Optimism, and they have a much longer lasting power, but they're harder. It's harder to attain because obviously in our line of work, it's not always it's not always an easy day. It's not always easy to be happy every day because sometimes it's hitting the fan. And it's not about some days it feels very transactional, but overall that's it's a great place. That's one of the ways I wanted to have my culture in with my group in our team, and I applaud anyone who's doing that, especially when they're doing it at a whole organizational level.
Yeah, and it's really clear too. Like just listening to you, listening to Evan when he talks on their show, right? You can tell right away because really good leaders like that will rush to the defense of their people,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're protective, they care, and they really care and will defend their folks. And it's obvious when you come across that in leadership.
Yeah. And as a leader, that's what gives me the tinglies. That's what I love about it is being able to be something for somebody that they need at the moment they need it. You
Yep.
know.
No, you guys, the new puppy is peeing on the floor. Did you see that? Oh, you.
Well, not until you pointed it out, but
Yeah. If it makes you feel any better, I did the same thing right before the show. So
You know what? I am just such an open-minded person that I don't mind what you do in the privacy of your own floor space. Okay? But that is a pea puddle. All right, talk amongst yourselves. I'm gonna go get some.
it's a puppy.
that's what they
Oh,
do.
yeah, we got a new puppy. Everybody say hello to the poop machine. The poop and pee
Well,
machine.
sounds like she's
Oh, what a
diversifying into
sweetie.
pee too.
She is. She is. She has needs. I'm gonna go let her out. You guys keep talking. And anyway, this is Princess Luna. Everybody say hi, Princess Luna.
Hi, Princess Luna.
Puppy.
All right, I'll be back.
So Will, I got a question for you, especially coming from the education space. And especially from the community college space, because a lot of people who are neurodivergent, the 4-year college life is not going to be as productive for them as something else does. So, how do you see the role of the community colleges, or even or the boot camps, or any of the alternative educational from the 4-year degree? How do you see their role in bringing that equity to the neurodivergent and the disability inclusion conversation?
Oh, wow. What a question. I think community colleges, if they are willing to pick up the role and run with it, right? Because it takes a heck of a lot of work in IT, especially. You got to have a lot of heart and passion because it's an uphill climb. But to create an atmosphere where those that come in off the norm can feel comfortable and can feel welcomed is huge. And if community colleges work on their whole customer service aspect to realize that students are simply customers, and that you have that area, the sky could be the limit, right? Because you don't need, if you create the right atmosphere, all of us that have been through IT, right? We've done most of our learning on the job, right? Isn't that how you
Oh yeah, absolutely.
made a huge difference? I mean, you get the basics. Yeah, you go through the classes, maybe certs, but that doesn't really do it, does it? It's not until you're actually working hands-on and getting involved. If community colleges have a huge opportunity to where if they build that up, it can be a difference. And the community college structure is different because we have people, a lot of the folks that come through our doors are folks that have already been out in life working and trying to change their lives for the better. Everything from single moms to folks that are in their trying to pick a second career to all that. And so when they come to the table, it means a little more. They need it. It's something that they've gotten past I'm just going through classes. No, I need something that will help get me where I need to go. You put all that together, it's an awesome opportunity because students teach other students.
Yeah, absolutely.
Heads up, folks, but it happens.
Well, how much? Just think of how much do you learn from your peers versus from something else on the job. Your peers are your best teachers.
I as a teacher, I'd learn a ton from my students.
Oh
We're
yeah.
working hard to try to blur the lines from teacher to student and turn it into an environment where we're all peers working together trying to figure stuff out. Because, I mean, right, Michael? Do you know everything in IT?
Oh, no way.
Can you ever know everything in IT?
No.
Can you ever be the absolute ultimate expert in any area of IT?
No.
It's
Yeah.
changing every day. So, how about if we just toss that out the door, right? And start to say, okay, let's just figure out how to help each other. Yeah, I can maybe help some folks because I've got more mileage, but that's about it, right?
Yeah. Well,
Tell that.
it's experience. I don't know more than more people. I just have made the mistakes before they got a chance to do it. So, I just know how to make that decision faster to keep away from falling in that pit. So,
And understanding and owning up to like the mistakes in your career or wherever it is, I think also helps you
absolutely.
understand that when you are witnessing other people make mistakes, that it's not something that you should be super frustrated about, but maybe something that you should view as this is a really cool learning opportunity for them. And you have a chance as their leader to guide them through that feeling of inadequacy that a lot of people associate with mistakes that they make, right? That they somehow failed.
Hmm.
It's not so much that you failed, it's that you're learning how to do something for the first time, maybe, or maybe it's not something you practice on a regular basis. So the risk of you making mistakes is maybe a little higher, but you're going to learn and so much faster by making mistakes, really,
Absolutely.
to be honest.
If you're not making mistakes, you're not learning. So, I see if you want to, at a macro level, be successful, it has to be, the only way that happens is a path full of micro failures that just have led up to that ability. I can't think of another way it happens. You know, whether it's IT, sports, business, any of those, everyone who has been successful has the a history of all these failures, some small, some big, but in the scheme of things small enough that they could still succeed. And you know and I think that's especially in what feels like a hyper competitive uh, industry. It's in infosec. I think everyone needs to realize that no one wants to have the mac. No one is out to suck.
No,
You know, I'm more and more in believing that IT is becoming a team sport rather than an individual contribution sport. And for that to work, you have to be able to have your individual failures. You have to be able to work as a team to fail, because that's what makes it work at the end of the day. And understanding that everyone on the team has to bring a different set of skills at a different level, or the team isn't really going to be successful. You bring if you have a if you're playing basketball and you have five LeBron James on the court, amazingly enough, you probably aren't going to win every game, because you need the mixture of all the different skills at the right time in the game with the right endurance and in skill set to make it work. And I think as we're going on with IT, as it gets more and more complicated over the years, I think IT is becoming that team sport. You can't do it alone. You can't do it if everyone is trying to go down a different path. It really has to be something they work together on. And uh, and I think that's where a lot of this the change in leadership needs to be. A good coach is not somebody who knows everything. But what they know is when to put the right person in play at the right time to do the right thing, and creating that good mixture of different people to go do stuff. And there's still a chance they'll lose. There's still a chance it'll fail. But overall, the better you are a leader is at doing that, the team will win.
Okay, from to help students out there, right? Well, I'm kind of singular and focused, right? If you could chime in on this, because tell students all the time, but it always helps to have respected leaders point this out. Students, when they come into the industry, have this thought that business, especially because of what tends to be asked for unicorns for just getting going, they expect that business, man, if you are a professional in the industry, you have it together. You really, are an expert in every area, that you just nail it every time you walk up to the machine. They just have this kind of superhero viewpoint of industry that when they walk in, boy, how are they going to make it there? Because they're human.
Yeah, it cracks me up because some people who are asking for that, if they looked at how they got into where they weren't like that either. I mean, thank God for Google, because there's times I don't know shit, and if I don't have something like that and at my disposal, then I can't do it. So I think people coming out of school, they don't need to know everything. They don't need to feel like they need to know anything. They need to know that they can go find out what they need to know is the most important thing. Once again, I would take critical thinking skills over knowledge any day.
Yeah. The ability
And
to understand that a resource that you pull, how much you can trust that resource, right? The validity of that resource,
yeah,
knowing how to search those things, how to find them, right? How to ask questions that are going to help lead you to the answer. That's super important, right? Because if you
yeah,
don't know what questions to ask, you have no idea where you're going. I'm just saying.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, but it's one of those things. Once again, I may not be smarter than somebody. I just know how to write a Google search better than other people do. So I know how to get through the third page of Stack Overflow before I start reading into what they actually did. And that's once again, that's from experience and failure. But it definitely, if anyone's out there, they should spend some time with a leader, maybe not their leader, if they're not comfortable with it, and they will find how human we are and how not together we are, completely. I mean, there are days where I'm just shocked that I was able to get dressed with and walked out of the house with clothes on, or was able to make all my meetings on time, or even remember that I had meetings. I'm just as flawed as everyone else. It's just you learn how to make what you can into your superpower, into your and you go with it.
Awesome advice, sir. Awesome advice.
Yeah. And they don't need to have their world figured out when they come out of school. I think that's the other thing that a lot of people feel is they need to know what they're going to be doing until they retire when they get out of school, because they've got to figure out how to do whatever. No one knows. I'm 44 years old and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. So
I say that all the time. Not the 44 part, right? Because I'm 102.
Yeah,
But
I know.
I say that
You've
all
been
the
saying
time.
it for a lot longer than I have.
I'm
So
102 and I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
yeah.
But I have
So
the confidence to be able to identify where my superpowers lie. I think that's probably what has saved my ass more than once.
yeah.
Is that I'm like, that I can't do that, but I can do this. Like that's pretty much how I got to anywhere, right? And it all, I mean, come on, guys. 5 years ago, I was working on commercial dishwashers. Really?
That's
Yeah,
pretty cool though.
I was
That's
laying in the floor in the back of house of a Chili's, replacing a motor on a dishwasher. That's what I did because I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I was a deli manager for a while. I managed restaurants for a while. I was a server, a bartender, a bar manager, like all these things. And the one thread that followed me into information security was a passion and the reward that I get for serving others in a
Yeah.
meaning and valuable way. That's it.
yes.
Everything else was self-taught, came through conversations I had with other folks in the industry, mentors, whether it was for a minute or months, right? Just having the mentors in my life just stop and answer questions for me or help guide me in some direction, just for even a second, was so valuable to everything that I can't ever thank those people enough, ever.
Yeah.
It's been amazing. So for any of the students that are coming out, I'm definitely going to second everything that Michael said. You don't need to know everything, but you need to have the confidence to go and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
That you can do that. You can do that. You can go ask questions to people or Google or fiddle with things. It's okay. You can, mash buttons. You're not going to blow stuff up as long as, it's not in production. Don't do stuff in production, guys. Like, it's okay. You can have a sandbox and you can go play in it and learn, right? Children do it in real time in a real sandbox. So it's okay. You can take that same thing that you did and bring it into your adult life. It's fine. Go figure it out.
We have a whole space here for that, for exactly that.
Exactly. And that's why I love you so much. Other than your shining personality, it's because of the space that you guys created for that to happen in your area. That's amazing. That's amazing. And I think Jonathan is doing the same thing at the University of Tulsa, right? Which is awesome and amazing. And I want more people to do that. There's a few more out there. There's the one in North Carolina, Chris. I always forget his last name. His first name's Chris. Gosh, you guys. There's one out there that does that. They provide it's like a student-led entry-level professionals SOC that they are able to offer at a deep discount to like small and medium businesses in the state of North Carolina. So that small and medium businesses that don't have the budget to, climb on board with one of these big vendors still have an opportunity to take advantage of, some extra safety precautions. Because let's face it, what is cybersecurity other than, it's safety. It's safety, but in a digital environment, where do your employees do the bulk of their work?
Oh, having an area where geeks can be geeks, right, is my Wireshark class, for example. And I probably said this before, so forgive me if I repeat it. But I have right back here, I'll have, because it's separated from the college, have all the students write their IP address on the board. Well, they very dutifully go up and say, okay, now take everybody else off the board. You do that in a standard setting and IT goes, right? But how else do you learn?
Yeah.
That's super fun. Michael, thank you so much for stopping by and having coffee with us.
No,
I think
no
I was the only
problem.
one.
Anytime. This is great. It's great.
Oh, you're awesome, dude.
Great talking with you guys. I need to get out to Tucson and hang out with you and take a look at your facility, because I think other business leaders need to see what cool things are happening out there and help spread it. And it's been great watching the comments go by. You have a great audience.
I
really
know.
insightful people.
They're amazing. Look, and some of them have been guests too, so they know what it's like. I try not to make it a hot seat because I know how I feel going on to any kind of live streams or podcast. I always feel like this is very intimidating, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. We're gonna do casual discussion because sometimes that's the best. That is absolutely the best. And then have the comments going. Like everybody can participate and be a part of it, right? It's collaborative. It's empathetic. It's good leadership.
Absolutely.
Oh. All right, you guys,
dude,
go out there and continue to be the awesome leaders that you are, right? You don't have to necessarily have a leadership title to be a leader. Don't forget that.
That's most important.
You're awesome, Michael. Thank you so much for that.
And remember, I'm unemployed, so if you want to reach out and talk, hit me up on LinkedIn.
You guys should definitely hire Mike. I cannot put more emphasis on that. Mike is awesome. All right. Oh, plus, the man took how many people did you start with?
4.
You took a 4-member team and in a year, right? 74. So if you're like, wow, I really need some good team, right? This guy, I'm just saying,
I've
got-
come across a lot of folks, man, and you can take a business to the stratosphere. That's awesome.
Thanks.
That is really awesome.
He's got the skills and the network, right? I'm just saying. And there's a lot of people that would love to follow Mike wherever he went. Doesn't matter. It'd be great. Good thing. You should do it. All right, look. The other deal is these used to be weekly, right? And then life changed directions for Rachel, and my priorities had to shift a little bit. All right. And I've missed you guys very much. It's very sad. The last one we did before this, if you go look on the YouTube, is like I woke up one morning and was like, I'm depressed. I need to have coffee and chat with everybody. And that was it. That's how we did this. And then Mike came on. We're probably going to move this to a monthly situation, just so you know. Do I have a guest for next month? No. Does that mean that it could possibly be you? Yes, that's what that means. So
I can help with that too.
Yes, we need some more awesome folks. And I mean, I know Mike sets a really high bar, so don't feel intimidated. We welcome all.
I don't have my stuff together, so you know.
Yeah, right.
We welcome all of the humans. All right. Don't forget to stop by Secure Nation, wave hi, say follow. That way you know when the next coffee table is coming up via LinkedIn. You can subscribe to the YouTube, all those things, or you can just be weird and stalk me. That's fine, or will. we don't mind too terribly. Just don't show up on the doorstep. It's gonna be weird. I got a shotgun. Just saying. But we will see you guys next time. Thanks so much for grabbing a cup and circling up. We love you. And yeah, you guys have a good weekend.
Cheerio, folks.
All right. Thank you all.